Hey everyone, I am officially back from my little hiatus. I didn't really give a warning or anything because it was very unexpected, but it was very necessary for me to go through this process and take a break from social media and take a break from producing videos and kind of just do a reevaluation, some internal shadow work, and I'm back, and it feels good. So today I want to talk about hell. I want to get into one of my favorite topics, which is um, the wisdom of hell. I guess I'll call this video the wisdom of hell. And to come out of hell not only alive, but better, deeper, to learn and grow and allow yourself to be carved by the flame, by the fires of hell, to understand the role of hell, to understand what hell is all about and why it's so important, and why it's not something that we need to dissolve, we need to do away with, we need to eliminate. This is a terrible thing you have to avoid at all costs. But by avoiding hell at all costs, there's no growth. There's no there's no evolution of consciousness. There's no deeper understandings. There's no suffering. And so you're avoiding the inevitable for comfort, for pleasure, for this thing that we call happiness. When hell is something to be used, to be looked at, to be uh, allowed to express, allowed to manifest. And many of you might disagree with me on this, but um, it's something that I've come to understand intimately, very deeply within myself from going through so many phases of hell, so many different styles of hell. And right when I think I've already gone through it, I'm met with more. I'm met with more fire, and I have to walk through it again. And I have to walk through it again. And I've got to walk through it as many times as necessary for me to really, really take a step back and to really see and feel what it truly means to be, what it truly means to be a human being, an infinite spirit in a body. And thanks to the teachings from hell, the teachings of hell, have I discovered my gift? Have I understood what it means to live? Without that polarity, I wouldn't be here right now speaking. I wouldn't be here at all. So let's get into it. I've already gotten into it a little bit, obviously, but let's get into it. Most people think that hell is something to be eliminated, avoided at all costs, done away with, neglected, rejected, repressed. When this is a extreme fallacy. This is not something, hell is not something to be rejected. Hell is not something to be repressed. Hell is not something to be thrown out. Hell is a necessary aspect of what it means to be a human being. Hell is the bringer of suffering. Hell is the hell brings on the necessary friction for us to go deeper, to understand ourselves deeper, to allow us to feel, be more expansive. We feel all the way through the pain and the suffering and the fire itself. We feel it. And we come out more sensitive, more expansive, more transcendental. We come out deeper. We come out with a greater understanding of who we are and what's taking place here on the planet, but most importantly, who we are. Because as long as we have a deep understanding of who we are, understanding what's taking place out here is inevitable the more we understand who we are. This infinite, powerful, spiritual, say being. I mean, it's not really a being. I guess it is. It's, incomprehensible, uh, infinite source of all that is. And without hell, you don't know it. As a human being, without hell, you don't know it. And there's this program to run away from pain. There's this program to run away from anything that resembles a threat to our mere physical existence. And this is extremely dangerous because as long as we're running away from pain, we're running away from a teacher, we're running away from a necessary component, a necessary teacher that needs to come into our lives and that needs to introduce us to newer, to fresh concepts, to eternal wisdom. I have a friend who said the other day, he said, your gift is closest to your wound. And that really, really resonated with me. When I face the wound, the ancestral trauma, whatever it is that's taking place within me, whenever I face the Leviathans and the demons that are crawling around the planet, when I face it, I find that I discover that their role here is important. But the problem is, we are not learning from what these parasites are attempting to teach us. I mean, they're not attempting to teach us anything. We're here to draw the lessons from them. We're here to teach ourselves through interacting with parasites, the parasites of hell. But we're not learning. We're not growing. If anything, we're devolving. There's people waking up thanks to all the friction, thanks to all the tension, thanks to all the massive corruption taking place. There are people waking up. But there's also 99 point whatever percent of humanity who are soon to be complete automatons, so stimulated that they will never know what it means to breathe air, to feel the wind, to see a bird, to understand anything, to see, they'll remain in this complete comatose state their whole life. And then they'll be maybe shuttled into pods, microchipped. Whatever the system wants to do with them, they will. So there's this divide happening because we're trained to avoid hell, to avoid pain, to avoid anything that resembles suffering, and to chase as much pleasure as we can. And therefore, we cut ourselves off from the essence of what drives the passion out of us, what drives and inspires us. Our soul's expression is discovered through the pain. So hell is a gift. And there was William Blake, and I'm sure there's other people that have talked about this that I'm missing right now, but William Blake, who expressed this, is the first individual that I ever absorbed this from, reading The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. He called it infernal wisdom. Walking through the fires of hell, dancing with the devil. He said things like, the road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom. Where, a lot of people condemn, this guy's an addict. He's always doing drugs. He's always drinking alcohol. He's always doing things. And yeah, they're harmful. They're harmful. But in my experience, those harmful addictions have been what brought my soul out of me. They were needed for me to awaken and to remember who I am. So when we condemn certain behaviors and we condemn certain aspects of what people are going through, we tend to forget what it took for us to remember who we are. What did it take for you to remember for who you are? And this is something that I really have had to take a step back. And part of my hiatus was me taking a step back and seeing this. I was very condemning and very sharp towards individuals who were going through certain processes that I myself had to go through, but I tend to kind of forget that I did. And I'm over here trying to shake people awake that still need to go through these certain processes. And it's that very energy that creates a resistance in individuals and keeps them and thwarts their progress in consciousness and in their ability to open their eyes and reason and understand. It's like the parent that never lets the kid breathe, that never lets the child express or go through anything or go through any pain. The child needs to touch the hot stove. It needs to fall off the table. It needs to, fall off the monkey bars. It can't be shielded from everything. And if you shield the child for that long, they're going to grow up seeking out dangerous things. They're going to be seeking out that pain, that suffering unconsciously because they weren't allowed to go through it as a child. That fire is that fire is passion itself. Transmuted properly. Fire transmuted properly is passion, is action. And if we don't know how to transmute it, if we don't know how to use it, if we repress it, if we are trying to shut it away, the fires of hell, to shut them away, because we don't want to feel that right now, they're going to burn us. They're going to destroy us. And then all sorts of terrible things are going to happen. And we're projecting our bullshit onto other people, projecting all of our shadow, projecting all of our, our stuff onto other people, trying to bring everybody else down to our level because we feel so alone because, we can't be the only ones that killed their true selves, their authentic selves years ago. We can't be the only ones. So I got to project this aspect of myself onto other people and condemn anybody that's attempting to reflect back to me what it is I'm actually doing. That's attempting to reflect back to me the truth that I unconsciously chose to kill myself a long time ago because society said, you're not free to be who you are. So we repress, we're trained to repress, we repress until we just put on this 100% of the time facade. And since we're so frightened and so immersed in fear to face hell and to allow ourselves to suffer, we never get to face the tension, the friction, the hammering that is needed to crack open the shell that we've encapsulated ourselves in. And I decided to talk about this topic because this is something that I personally have just gone through. This hellish dark night of the soul that I've been trekking through for the past year. But it didn't really, really start boiling to the point where I just had to withdraw until about 3 months ago. And it's funny that was rearing its head so heavily while I was, starting to make videos and I was starting to put all this information out there. It's like, there's a part of me that was like, come on, seriously? There's a part of me that was like, didn't I already heal all this? Didn't I already go through this? And there was a part of me that tried to actively repress this trauma, this shame, whatever it was that was attempting to rise up to the surface. I was like, oh, I've already gone through that. Remember 2 years ago when I faced all that trauma and I read all those books and I started applying all that knowledge and da 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 da? Nope. Here it is again. But it's not the same. It's what you didn't face back then. It's what you still haven't faced because you weren't ready to yet. And so I personally have had to allow this to wash over me. I've had to allow myself to go through this suffering process, this heat, and say, really say nothing. Just be with it and allow myself to go through this process. This is what's necessary for the evolution of my soul. I embrace the fire. I harness the flame. And I come out stronger. That much stronger. It's through the weakness that I feel. It's through that weakness I allow myself to be that malleable, that bendable branch. I allow myself to be weak. And it's through the weakness that I discover my true strength. Instead of trying to resist the fire, trying to resist this natural process that I have to go through based off why I came into this body in the first place. Instead of resisting it, allowing it and embracing it and saying, I'm ready. Let's do it. Even if I'm not ready, I'm ready. And again, there's this deeply, deeply rooted, deeply seated program that is afraid to feel pain. But pain is an intricate part of this experience. We need pain. Because without it, our passion, our spark, our soul remains unexpressed. Our purpose, if you want to say purpose, remains unfulfilled. And we just remain asleep, stay asleep, remain a slave, and remain controlled, and inevitably remain harming, actively harming not only ourselves, but one another. So we need hell to acquire that infernal wisdom, which is a part of us, to develop our faculties, to sharpen our blade, to sharpen our voices, our minds, to drive us deeper into who we are and what we are here to express and what we are ultimately here to be. And it's unavoidable. It's unavoidable. So it's through hell. It's through the fire, not running from the fire, not trying to hover over the fire, not trying to burrow underground and just avoid the fire. It's through the fire that we understand and discover our power and discover our gift.